Group at Divine Power. Jeff is an experienced professional in PR, media, but the thing is, he brings brand loyalty to it. He creates customer loyalty and engaged members. He say using social media is more than updating your status. It's giving an engaged user. So Jeff is going to help us take our chapter to the next level with the use of social media and strategies that we can use to propel the new chapter every year. Yeah?
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me. I definitely appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. Warmest welcome I've gotten so far. All of my years. So today we're going to talk about social media and specifically the changing nature of influence and how social media is making a profound impact on us as people, how we do business, how we interact in our everyday life, and how influence has changed as a result of social media's wide acceptance and adoption. So if we were to give this a different name, aside from social media, the changing nature of influence, we could also call it social media, why you should care. Because otherwise, I mean, a lot of people just think about it as just twittering your day away or updating and wasting time on Facebook. But I'm going to give you reasons why you should actually care from a business perspective about social media. So I put up a hashtag up there because I wouldn't be much of a social media guy if I didn't. So if any of you are Twitter users and you want to comment something about what's happening, you want to remember something and tag it on Twitter, you just use SMPHILA. Or you can always send something to either of my Twitter names, Jay Gibbard, or I also tweet for Divine Powers that the offer my work for. Divine Powers is yes.
I think you just ran through like 3 different organizations you work for.
No. So that's just a hashtag for Twitter. You can basically tag conversations in a very specific way. So if you were to if I said something that you thought was profound, like social media is changing the nature of influence, you could tag that update on Twitter with SMPHILA, and it'll organize all of the comments about that into that one stream. Now, Jay Gibbard, that's just my personal Twitter name, so you can always reach me there if you want to write that down. If you decide to adopt Twitter, that is the easiest way to get in touch with me. And to be honest, if you email me, you will see about 1/100th of the response time that you would if you hit me on Twitter. I have like a 30-second response time on Twitter. So, and then Divine Powers is my company, and I tweet for them. But that's the main way to reach me, Jay Gibbard. So this is just if you're on Twitter, if during the course of this you want to say something, you can always attach me to it. I would encourage you to, and that way we can kind of continue the conversation online as well as this in-person conversation.
And the second question is, will we get the PowerPoint?
It's actually on the flash drive, but I'm going to put there's some things that happened. I also want to preface that this PowerPoint is not going to look exactly as I designed it because I designed it in Keynote on Mac. So some things might look a little quirky, like these guys are a little bit too dark. So they're going to be hanging out this whole presentation. But I'm going to optimize it for PowerPoint, and I'm going to send it to both Garland and Richard, and everyone will be able to have it. So you'll all be able to have these slides. So just a quick introduction about Divine Powers. We are a public relations, social media, and issues management firm. Those are our 3 core areas of expertise. So public relations obviously has to deal with getting our clients into news publications. It's not paid media, it's not advertising, it's not marketing. It's getting our clients into either the television news, radio news, print news, various forms of publications, speaking events, things like that. Social media, that's my department. I run our social media practice group, and that comes down to everything from strategy development, internal policy development, and really helping our clients through anything that they need, whether it's training, whether it's really anything. And then finally, issues management, that's our way of saying crisis management. So anytime a client of ours is dealing with some form of crisis, we step in and we help them develop what their messaging is that they want to communicate through that rough patch and trying to help keep them out of the news. So one is in the news, the other is out of the news. And they really all overlap. So I just want to give a little brief intro on who we are, what we do. And this is me, Jeff Gibbard, MBA, social media, right brain, I'm a blogger. All of us are diverse people, and I think one of the things that I really appreciate about social media is that it allows us to be diverse people, and it allows us to interact with people based on our interests, based on things about us that help make a human connection around interest. So this is me. I'm not just the director of the social media practice group, I'm also a foodie. I love the Philadelphia Eagles more than just about any other. So that's me. I want to take just a quick detour before we get into the actual content portion of this, and it has to do with PowerPoint and presentations in general. That's not what I want. Death by PowerPoint is like the worst thing to happen to presentations. Ever since this medium came about, it's been lulling people to sleep through lunch, before lunch, and after lunch. And what I'd like is that during this presentation, at any time, if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have a concern, anything, raise your hand, and let's go on that detour. Because I think that's what this is about, it's a conversation. This is just to support the conversation. So, I'll just run through this, but at any point, just stop me. So this is the agenda. Mystifying social media, demystifying social media, and then the agenda. And what I mean by that is that mystifying social media, I want you to get how important this is and how big it is. And what this actually means, what could mean for you and your business. And then I want to make it practical by making it not so scary and so big. So we're going from the big picture down to the little picture. And then Q&A. So at the end we'll have some time just to, chit-chat. You ready? That's where we are. Here we go. Mystifying social media. The world is changing. The world has changed. And I like to think a lot of that has to come down to social media. And the world is always changing. Obviously, so much has happened over the past, 200 years that it's just mind-boggling. But if we look at what's happened in the last decade, I'm going to show you how social media in particular has made profound changes that we've never seen before and on unprecedented levels. What's the big deal? What's the big deal about social media? Does anybody have any idea what the big deal about social media is?
It's the speed of getting that message out. Attention.
Connections, attention, speed.
World is small.
World is smaller.
Necessary.
Yeah, it's definitely become very necessary. Good, these are all totally 100% part of why social media is a big deal. Here's another reason. To remove the gatekeeper. Before social media, PR was different. Before social media, advertising was different. Before social media, the world was different because if you wanted to get somebody's attention in mass, you had to go through one of these channels. You had to find your way to a print publication and say, I have something interesting to say. Are you willing to publish it? Oh no? Okay, I guess I'll just go sit down now. You had to go to the radio and say, I have something that I want you to say. Will you say it to me? And if they didn't want to say it, they did not say it. And the same thing for TV. And you also had to have huge budgets to do all these things. This was the pathway to influence, is that you had to hit one of these channels because there wasn't anything else. You weren't going to send like 1 trillion emails to be able to reach that many people. So what it's done is it's giving you the ability that if you have a smartphone, if you have an iPad, if you have a laptop, if you have a desktop, if you have any means of connecting to what we call the internet, you have the ability to publish whatever it is that you want, to create whatever message it is that you want, and you don't have to answer to anyone. You can go right now, between now and the end of lunch, you can start a blog and post 3 posts. That's never been before possible. The amount of data created since the dawn of civilization, this is insane, so pay attention to this. The amount of information from the dawn of human civilization through 2003 is about 5 exabytes of data. Doesn't matter what an exabyte is, that's what it was. I can explain it, but it's irrelevant. The point is that's how much was created. That amount is created every 2 days in 2010.
Wow.
2 days. Dawn of civilization to 2003, 2 days. That's remarkable. That blows my mind every time I say it. It's ridiculous. 2 days. That's a lot of information every day. If you think about all of those tweets, all of those status updates, all of those pictures, all of those videos, now all of those HD videos, those podcasts, those radio programs. This is all stuff that never could have happened before. We opened up these lines of communication for a 2-way dialogue. It's remarkable. It's a bigger impact than you can imagine. What has that done? It's changed behavior. We all act differently now by way of having access like this. When we look for information, when we create information, we behave differently because this is available to us. Let's go back to the future. It is now 1995. 1995. You're looking for a business, Richard. How do you find them?
Phone book.
The phone book! clairvoyant. It's now 2006. Garland, you're looking for a business. How do you find it? Google. There's the correct answer. It's the most popular one. LinkedIn's a good answer, though. I would look there, too.
Or still the phone book.
Yeah, or still the phone book. My mom is really still pushing that, and I send her my phone books. I'm like, go ahead, use it. I use Google. So that's 1995, 2006, and every single time that I've shown this slide, I've gotten the exact same answer, which is why I'm confident having these show up after I hit the clicker. So because it happens, except it, but that's what happens every time. 1995, that is what we did. That was our behavior. 2006, this is what we do. It is our behavior. We're in 2010, so what do we do now? This is what we do. All of these different sites, we have access to just a litany of different pieces of information that we form our trust with. When I'm looking for something, oftentimes I'll go on Twitter and just type, I'm looking for a good place to eat in New York City near 42nd. And I will get an answer back in a couple minutes. Just from people, I don't even know them, just people that are like, hey, I live in New York, I just saw your tweet, this is where you should go. I was searching nearby tweets, this is that. It's just remarkable. You know, look at Amazon.com. You know, when you go on Amazon, if any of you shop on Amazon, she's an addict.
Yeah, go box, right?
She loves it. Point is that when you go on Amazon and you look at a product, what do you look at? You look at the ratings. You don't know those people. But if you see 200 5-star ratings, you're like, wow, that must be a really good product because 200 people that I don't know really like it. So this is all things that did not exist a decade ago, but are now changing the way that we buy things, the way that we acquire information, the way that we find new restaurants. It's all things that are changing the way that we behave. So what does that mean, right? Derive some meaning from what this is all about, all of these changes. Well, conversations are happening. Are you listening to them? So whatever business that you're in, there's somebody out there that is talking about something relevant to what you do. They're talking about your industry, they're talking about your brand, they're talking about your competitors, and they're out there looking for information. Because this is how we see information now, is on these social sites. They're writing experiences, they're writing opinions, they're creating videos, they're creating pictures. All of this content is being created. As we said, every 2 days, there's a ton of content that's being created every 2 days. Yeah, 5 exabytes, exactly. So it's a lot. So this is important for us to pay attention to. So what we want to really hone in on is what this means is that your new marketing department is all of those people creating content and asking questions and telling other people about things that they do and things that they like. That is your marketing department. Sure, you have a marketing department. You know what your marketing department is about? Your marketing department is now more than ever about influence. Your ability not to necessarily one-way influence one person through a print ad or one-way influence people through a radio ad, but to touch one person in an experience that they then go ahead and spread for you because they now can do that. It's always existed. You know, prior to all of this technology, if you went out to a great restaurant, you might tell your friends. If you had a great experience with a product, you might say, oh my God, this is an incredible product. Many of you have dogs and cats. This is how my wife and I found out about the Furminator. It was completely nothing to do with technology. It's this thing that helps your dog if they shed a lot. And we found out about it on the street. Somebody came up and we were shedding our dog and they were like, hey, you should get the Furminator. Totally random, totally viral, had nothing to do with this. But these technologies are enabling it to happen easier, faster, and spread much, much further than this individual one-to-one sort of contact. Trust is the pathway to this influence. So the reason people used to go to the phone book is because they trusted it. They knew that this was a way that they could find a business that they're looking for. They went to Google because they trusted the results, and that was built over time of looking for something, getting what you want, and feeling like that's a place you can come back to. And people are doing this more now more and more with social sites. I now go to my Twitter network because I trust people. I seek out certain people because of their competencies in different areas. So influence is now a product more than ever of trust, and it's being cultivated in this online environment. So here's some stats that don't look as good on this slide as they once did, but 90% of consumers online trust recommendations from people they know. Do you buy that? Do you trust people you know? For the most part, I think we all do, right? The craziest part is that 70% of people trust people that they don't know. And that's evidenced by the Amazon recommendations, going on Yelp, seeing what people review different businesses as. And I mean, I think that's pretty wild, especially when you compare it to these next stats that 95% of people indicate that they don't trust advertising. I'll laugh at advertising if it's funny. An advertisement can turn me off to something. I no longer drink Miller Lite. I find their ads offensive now. But the point is that people don't trust advertising because they don't trust the motives of a company. We trust motives of other people. There's no hidden agenda there. If I recommend a restaurant to you, I don't have a hidden agenda. But if a restaurant is telling you how great they have that agenda. And only 8% of people trust what companies say about themselves. These are all stats that I found about how people are relating to advertising and marketing in companies. So, question. There's a company out there, we assume, and they don't have a website, they don't have any email addresses to contact them, and they don't have a phone. Would you trust that company? Would anybody trust that company in this room? Because I know I wouldn't. I'd be like, did you? It's definitely 2011, so you might first of all want to get the phone. But you probably wouldn't buy from them, right? How did you even find them if they don't have a website, phone, or an email address? I mean, maybe somehow somebody told you about them, right? But you probably wouldn't be able to find them. And right now, we're experiencing this transition in which, yes, you can still find a company if they have a phone number, email address, and a website. But what about when their competitors are offering you more value on these other social sites? And they're giving you more and saying, hey, work with us instead because we're willing to give away information and you get to know who we are by seeing a video about us. Or here's a white paper that'll help you build a case for your boss. These are all ways that companies are expanding out into these social sites without a need to run anything by anyone except within their company, but they can publish, and it's helping influence. So the question is should you participate in social media? Because I believe firmly that there's an opportunity for absolutely every kind of company at some level to begin embracing these technologies. So the question is actually, how should you participate in social media? And it could be the smallest things, such as maybe you just have a Facebook page. Maybe you just use YouTube videos to show something off about your product or service. Maybe you're just on LinkedIn so that people can find you there. But when people are looking for you, you want them to be able to find you, and these are places that they're looking. So, mystifying social media, which subheading I put to this is, it's really not that difficult to be human. So tactically, there's a lot of things that you can do, creating content and putting things out online, and it can all seem very, very overwhelming. But what ultimately social media comes down to is your ability to be human as a business and connect with people. Let down a little bit of that wall of professionalism and stuffiness that people don't want and connect with them. Build a genuine experience for them so that they feel like they're getting to know you and they're getting to know more about your company as people, not your company as a fancy logo that does something that if they really need something, they don't know who they're going to get in touch with. You want them to know your name. It's the reason we go back to restaurants where people know our name. It's the exact same thing. So, my simple definition of social media, because I think there's a lot of definitions out there, I like this one. I made it up, although you could probably find something very similar online. But it's the collection of technologies that allow anyone to share or create content online. That's it. It's very, very simple. It's all it is. It's just a big collection of technologies that allow you to, in some way, create something or take something that's out there and share it. That's what all this whole big ecosystem is. Now, there's obviously just a giant spectrum of what that can mean, but that's all this is. It's very, very simple at its core. So here's an assumption, the two assumptions that I'm going to make about your business, whatever your business is, not knowing what a single one of you actually does. Here's my assumption about getting new business. You acquire new business by getting qualified leads, and you convert a certain percentage of those leads into business. That happens in some form at every business level, that there are leads that come in through some means, and some of those people buy things. So if we take that as the assumption, correct me, does anybody not have that paradigm in their business in some way? Because I'm making this assumption. Okay, I'm going to move on then. Two options. You can either get more leads or you can close more business. So it's basically a statistics game here. If you close 1 out of every 10 people that come in, get 20 and now you've got 2. Or get 2 of that 10. Those are your options, right? So you either get more people that are interested, and by statistics, if you close a certain percentage, you'll have more business, or you do better with the ones that you have. And I think social media actually enables both of those. This is what I think the process of social media actually looks like in a very, very basic way. There's three things that you do in social media. You listen, you create something, and you measure it at its core. That's really all you're doing. So I'm just going to touch on each of these really quickly, and then I'm going to jump into Q&A. Because this second part, really, I'm just talking a little bit about these three sections. So listening. Listening is probably the most important part in social media. Because if you're not listening to what people are saying out there about your business, about your competitors, about your brand, about anything like that, then you don't know what you're supposed to do in the first place. You're just kind of going, without a map. So the listening is going to set you up so that you have an idea of what you're supposed to be doing in some fashion. So the first step is you're going to be looking out in this giant mess of 5 exabytes every 2 days worth of data, and you're going to notice that there is a ton of garbage out there. I'm not going to sell you the rainbow rosy picture that it is all wonderful out on social media land. There is garbage out there galore, tons of it. But within that garbage, within all of that noise, there are opportunities. And again, it's people talking about your brand, your industry, your competitors, or just various miscellaneous activities.
And I guess that's one of the biggest things that we come across as a challenge when we had like an event or we're trying to engage our members. We'll put it on Facebook or you'll put it on LinkedIn, but then it gets lost amongst the 34 events that you might have listed. Are you coming? Maybe not. How do you basically separate yourself from the noise?
Yeah.
And that's really what we're what we're looking for, how to engage and making sure we're connecting on every possible. Everybody uses Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, but is there anything else out there? Is there something else we can be doing to utilize these tools?
Absolutely.
Are we doing something wrong?
First of all, I'll answer the last part of your question. You're not doing anything wrong. Because there is no wrong, there is no right. There's simply what's effective and what's a really good educated guess about what's going to happen or what's going to work. Because social media, think about it, it really is only about 6 years old. My position did not exist a decade ago. Thankfully, it now exists because I think it's stuff. But to your point about what can you do, it's not necessarily always about finding what's next or what's new, but it's about figuring out how to do better with the tools that you have. So on Facebook, for instance, if you're posting event listings, that's one thing, and it's very similar to like an old style traditional strategy of posting an ad in a paper or posting a bulletin board up on one of these things. But the big difference and the big opportunity that you have in social media, I think, is actually to reach out to someone and connect with them directly. So instead of saying, okay, we have 50 members or something, I'm just going to make out hypothetically, we have 50 members and you post we're having an event. What if you were to reach out to each individual member and say, listen, this is what we're having this event about, and we'd actually really like to get some of your feedback. If you would be willing to come, we want to know how we can make this event more valuable for you. Now it's not just, hey, look what we're doing. If you're interested, why don't you come? It's, look what we're doing that we want you to be a part of, and that we want you to inform how we move forward. And we want to involve you in this process and have you be part of our organization. That's a very different slant on a way of doing it. And you guys may be doing that. I'm not saying that you're not. But from the perspective of how social media tends to be most effective, that we've seen time and time again, it's a one-to-one connection. It's reaching out to people and individually touching them in a way that says, I value you, I value your opinion, and I want you to be a part of this.
And that's true, because he just went right into you. You know,
My presentation piece basically discussed that. Each of us personally reaching out to some of our members and surveying them about what works for them as a member. What do they want to see more of? What do they want to see less of? And how does the organization help develop them personally and professionally? So
Yeah.
it's conversations that we're definitely diving into for
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny though, because if we were to flip it around, and instead of thinking of yourselves as reaching out to people, think if you were being reached out to, what do you respond to? You know, whenever I talk about search engines, I always do similar sort of thing where, you know, the concept that people have trouble getting when I start saying, well, how do you search? All of a sudden it makes sense. So think of yourselves on the other side. If you got this thing that was not to you, it was just sort of like an email blast, let's say. How is that going to affect you versus if you got like a, hey, Richard, how are you? I haven't seen you since the MBA mixer. I've been working on this thing. I'm really looking forward to getting your opinion on X, Y, and Z. That's a whole different way that it's going to land with you as the recipient. That is going to be completely different than if you're just sending out something that is not to anyone in particular, but has sort of a general every person feel. So it's about, I think, being human and optimizing and making connections with people. Because you hear it over and over again, that the social media buzzwords are like, honestly, like, they're even nauseating for me. So even when I say things like building relationships or making connections or things like that, it feels a little icky because that's what you hear from social media people. But it's not the words, it's the meaning behind them. It's actually real advice, it's real work to reach out and take the time to connect with someone and involve them in your process. So that's what I would recommend as far as moving forward and how you all work better with the tools that you have is to really make those connections. So noise and opportunity. Here's a quick example of noise versus opportunity. Personal case study. I go to Starbucks a lot, admittedly. I'm a huge Starbucks fan. So one day, there's a Starbucks in my building, which really doesn't help. Yeah, I get scolded because I spend too much money there. Don't you look at me. So I went into Starbucks one day, it's in the basement of my building, and I go down there and I'm waiting in line and I was really in the mood for like a toffee nut cappuccino or something. So I go on Twitter and I wrote, I'm about to get a delicious toffee nut cappuccino at Starbucks, grande. Send, right? Noise, that's garbage. That is absolutely useless information. Let's be real, no one cares. None of you care that that's what I do. It is garbage, it's noise, right? Absolutely worthless filler of that 5 exabytes of data. This is the stuff that no one cares about. Unless you work right up the block at 1818 Market Street and you're at Marathon Grill. And you send a tweet back that says, hey, why don't you come up the street for a hot cup of coffee for $1? Noise became opportunity. So one man's trash is another man's treasure. And that could be the very unfortunate tagline of social media, but it's the truth. There is a lot of noise out there, but that noise to someone is opportunity. So it's a matter of listening for what's noise to someone else, but is opportunity for you.
Could have an opportunity for Starbucks.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for them to offer me something. I promote the heck out of that.
So Jeff, quick education for me. So how does Marathon Grill know to send you that message in that moment?
Gotcha.
Help me draw
Yeah,
that bridge for me.
absolutely. So if we think of Twitter as one example of a very popular piece of social media, actually my favorite thing on the entire internet, it's a real-time communication. You're looking into what's happening now. What are people saying now? So Twitter search is actually what sets Twitter apart from virtually any of the other social media sites, because the Twitter search it gives you the ability to look into any topic and find out what the pulse is. So within Twitter, I can craft a search that says, show me within 1 mile of this location, anything that's being said that's a question about coffee. I can say, show me anyone that is at that's using the word Starbucks within 5 miles of me. Show me, and you can create these searches to such a granular degree that I can look for a tweet from Ellie to Richard from between yesterday and today that happened within this zip code within 3 miles of it, and that contained the word taco.
Wow.
You can create that. That's what Twitter gives you the ability to do. So basically what they're just doing is, I made that up right now. It's because she loves tacos. But you were not there.
You were at Starbucks.
That's actually amazing. I'm searching on Twitter, like it's on my phone. I'm just searching like, you put your name up there, I went to @Jeff Gibbert, Twitch you, done.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm usually looking for somebody, but I didn't know you can customize.
Oh my God, it's kind of ridiculous what you can do, to be honest, on Twitter. I mean, I have searches that run all the time. Health, public relations, social media, don't get. And I craft these searches together so that when I have people that come up, just random people, this is the public sphere of Twitter, when somebody says, I don't get social media, or I need help with Twitter, or need help with Facebook, I'm there to say, oh, there you go, because I happen to know a thing or two about it. So that's noise to people who aren't looking for that and they're just trying to connect friends to us. For me, that's opportunity.
How far is the radius of that search?
I think 100 miles maybe. You might even be able to do 250 miles. But it's pretty robust. But the other thing you can do is you can always do like 2 searches that you kind of monitor concurrently. So if you say this zip code and that zip code, and you know you have a 100-mile radius, if you do them both at a 100-mile radius, you're going to get that overlap and kind of hit everywhere. So
So it's not like Facebook where you have to have buttons, you do a search.
You just play on it.
Facebook has the worst search ever.
Search.
It's awful. It's terrible. I hate it.
So
But
when you just get something down, and I'll be honest, just getting it down on Facebook, man, I can't even get to Twitter, and I'll be really honest, I'm just not getting it and understanding.
you said that on Twitter, I
And
think
you
right
be
now.
all over. So I'm letting you know now.
I don't get to it. I don't get to it.
I mean, I love Twitter. To me, the thing is that a lot of people don't like get Twitter because Twitter is so different than Facebook. Facebook makes sense to all of us. I know you, you know me, let's be friends on the network. And I'll share pictures with you, and I'll share what my life is like, my experiences. It makes sense. It's comfortable. It's what we've always done. We travel in tribes of people based on relationship. Twitter is totally different. It's not about relationship. It's about interest. I follow people that talk about social media, or public relations, or marketing, or advertising, or technology, or gadget, because that's stuff I'm interested in. Now, they are total strangers, but what has that done for me? It's actually generated a number of relationships with people that I would have otherwise never met. And now I'm connected to them professionally, and some of them are leads for new business. I just go out with the intention of being helpful. So I found a number of people who have said, I can't figure out this, that, or the other thing. Can I just give them free advice? Do this. And I've actually created a very small legion that is growing of fans that are saying, this person is really helpful, and they're really generous with their time. And I'm going to recommend you to somebody else. And that, you know, that just happened kind of organically by way of trying to be helpful and providing value to people. And that's turned into people who are willing to refer me business because they know who I am. They know how I do things, which is I try to be helpful. So I think to your point about Twitter and like that whole thing, it's to get that it's strangers, it's interests, and it's big, wide open public. It's different than Facebook. Yeah. Estimation one. There's no limit.
With the Twitter, if we were, say that an organization was setting a search for business-minded people, whatever, is it something that would have to be monitored all the time?
By
Or is it
person.
something that would it save that data, we can go back and look at it and see how many responses fell into that category?
And the second part of that is, would it have to be monitored by one person?
Good. I'm going to touch on both of them. No, it doesn't need to be monitored by one person because one of the benefits of Twitter being such a big open public sphere is that if you monitor a search, it doesn't mean that he can't monitor the search. So you can actually create it as part of your strategy for how you use it, that you make this a team effort, and you let people know when you've responded to things, or even just bombard people with the ability to be helpful and answer questions and be there for people. So if you as an organization said, you know, 5 of us are going to monitor this search in this area, 5 of us are going to monitor this search in this area, and you can all pretty much share a piece of the responsibility of reaching out to people, then that becomes part of how you do things.
Which is a good point, and you know we have a Twitter account. Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, I tweet.
But you don't get Twitter.
But, and I'll be completely honest, there's only a few things on there from '09 when we did the EIA. I tweeted from conference, I tweeted from the award ceremony, so it's probably only about 5 or 6 things. Because again, I don't want to sound.
We can have a private session.
Okay.
I love it. I run like 10 Twitter accounts. Just
You said 10 Twitter accounts?
yes.
Who
I
are
run
you?
I run a few, or I monitor a few of our clients' Twitter accounts. I have several of my own for different topics. I have one that is just for me talking about sports because I didn't want to clutter that with what I do professionally. I didn't want the people who were following me to get value about social media hearing about how awesome that Deshaun Jackson run back was, or how miserable I am now that they're out of the playoffs. So that's not relevant for why people follow me professionally. So I figured I'll segment that off, and I'll have an account that's purely for me to get information and disseminate information about sports.
I think you just hit on a touchy point for those of us who don't tweet, I don't like Twitter, but that's me personally. But from
Have you tweeted?
I have, and I have a Twitter account, but I don't like it. I really don't. And what I don't like about it, no, I don't like it. I know
IT
it.
professional.
Right, I know it.
She don't want to do it, we don't care. We got enough stuff to pick up and answer and
Yeah,
answer phones and
IT professional in me would think, the IT professional in me and the marketing professional in me is right there with me. Personally, I don't like the fact that it's Googleable. I don't like the fact that, I don't like the time, date, and place stamp. I don't want you to know where I am, honestly. And this is me, that's when I stopped doing it. I found out, literally, that, you know, because I have to Google myself every now and then. And I found out that, oh my God, it's all on Google that I tweeted about Trey Songz. I don't want the world to know. Right. I do not want the world to know that. But professionally, I understand it's necessary. You know, the same reason that when I created our LinkedIn account, but we had the same issue, monitoring. Okay, forget, before LinkedIn, we had the same issue with our info email box. Who is going to respond to those emails?
Info email box.
Right, we could, like, literally, we said, you do it this week, you do it, and it never works. They all go to his phone now, but before we tried that, you know, you do it this week, you do it a month or whatever, and it never worked. So, you know, from an organizational perspective, there really needs to be some ownership, I would say.
Oh,
in terms of
absolutely.
the function.
And I'm not encouraging sort of like a very loose structure of like 5 or 6 people. Maybe you'll do it this or that and the other thing, but more that you have in place an accountability structure in which people are accountable for it. And if they don't do it,
process development.
APs.
So,
Moses is the youngest, he can do it.
but you flashed something up there, Jeff. You can go back a couple of slides without a page two.
Go back again.
Dang, we're ready.
Yeah, go ahead. It has the icons at the top is what I was looking for.
got that.
Oh, all of those.
Right.
That's too much.
This is my problem.
It's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
I don't even
and
know what all those up
there are new ones created every day. And when I go on my laptop and I go to my AOL page or whatever it is, and it's an overlay now. This drop down, like 97 of these little icons.
Yep.
For what?
Keep in mind, this was under the heading of mystifying social media. I want you to be overwhelmed here. So, mission accomplished. The point is not that you have to do all of these things. Nobody encourages that or says that you have to or even have the time for that. This is by no means what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that these are things that are out there, and there are opportunities within some of these that will make sense for you. And that's where people are getting information. So the crux of what I'm trying to say here is that if people are looking for something somewhere, if your customers are on SlideShare looking for information, they want presentations, they want slideshows, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to SlideShare and be there for them where they're looking for things, or are you going to insist that they make their way to your website and download the PDF or whatever it is that you want to do? No, your customers, sorry, are in control.
Right. And then, I'm sorry, not to cut you off, because you talk about SlideShare. I never knew anything about it until I was on LinkedIn. Okay. I was on LinkedIn, and obviously you're able to use SlideShare on LinkedIn now, and I think I may have been on your page, and that's how I saw it. And I
You sent it to me?
link
Yeah, that
for
works.
something else from what Washington chapter was doing. So there's a lot of things out there that we're not using.
And I guess I look at that and I see capitalism. Like what I see is everybody's looking for their way in to be the next Facebook.
Oh, absolutely.
Versus, what really is the usefulness of this product and does this cover what I need?
Absolutely.
It looks like a redundancy to me for technology. So yes, it's overwhelming. I guess what I would rather hone in on as a business maybe,
What should you do?
is what should you do versus trying to do everything.
Sorry, I had to go back a lot. Listen. Listening doesn't mean that you have to go on to Twitter, go on to Bing, go on to WordPress, go on to SlideShare, go on to Delicious, go on to... You don't have to go on to all these. Go to your... Yeah, there we go.
I've even not heard of that one.
Listening to what your customers are telling you on the phone. Listen to, see what people are going to on your website, what they're looking for. All of these things are intelligence that you want to gather so that you know, what am I creating the value for? What do people want? And that was the point behind saying you don't need to go to every one of these sites. But if you have clients, if you know that your key demographic is looking for something on YouTube, they want a video of something, then you should be on YouTube. some way, somehow, you should be there for that conversation to be a part of it. So listening really is the first step in, identify what your customers need, what your customers want, and then go above and beyond it and give them that and more. So this is the first step.
So maybe, since we're, now I feel like we're archaic in our use of technology. So maybe what we need to do is figure out what our members are looking for when
Do you have a
they're
website?
using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
Do you have analytics
Yes.
on the website? Like, do you have some form of Google Analytics?
We don't have
Yes.
Google.
We do.
Okay, cool. So you have Google Analytics?
No, it's not Google.
It's not cool.
Well, there's some analytics.
Yeah, yeah.
I recommend Google, it's free. But the point is this, if you have a website, you have Google Analytics, you have a starting point. That's what you need. What are people looking at on your website? Where are they spending the most time? What are they leaving? Like, what sites do they hit? And they're like, I don't care, and they leave. That's your first gathering of intelligence. Then talk to your members. I'm sure some of you are connected to other members on LinkedIn. Find out directly from them. What's valuable for you about this association? What do we provide for you that is making your life as a professional better? And then start creating things to that. Because the first step is listening, right? The next step is creating that content to provide that value. So if you can take these first steps and find out what are people looking for, what can I do for them, and then create content to provide value to that need, you're now becoming valuable to them. That's what this is about. That's what these social media sites are for, is for you to be able to create your content, put it up because you want to without any sort of gatekeeper. And you're doing it for a reason, for what they said they wanted in some way.
So you guys now know which AI questions to ask.
Yeah.
Which one is the most valuable to us?
Right, let's try that. You want delicious?
Don't your name on delicious or delicious?
So, I put this slide up because I think what content means to me in a lot of ways is if you have a website, that's your home base. And if you're out on the rest of the web, you know the story of Hansel and Gretel?
Yeah.
You're leaving breadcrumbs back to your home page. So you're out on Dig and you post something, and that's breadcrumb back to your page. If you're out on YouTube and you create a video, that's creating some form of value. You have a link back to your website, you're creating breadcrumbs. Now people don't need to come to your website to find you. They can be out doing whatever it is that they're doing, looking for a specific type of content. Not necessarily a specific organization, but a specific type of content, and that leads them back to you. So they don't necessarily need to find National Black MBA Association homepage. They can go out and say opportunities for young black entrepreneurs on YouTube. They could go out onto Delicious and find on the tag Black Entrepreneur, Black Small Business. These are all ways that you can lead people back to you, breadcrumbs. So that's what creating content is about, is creating breadcrumbs back to your website.
So we take our video of today's meeting, we put it on our website, but we also put it on the YouTube feed so that people then will find it through YouTube and then lead them back to it.
Kind of the other way around, actually. You upload it to YouTube, so it's there, and then you embed that on your site. It's also easier to do that. I mean, it's super easy to embed.
You said you put that up,
I
right?
did.
Thank you.
It's the same thing. Again, president's announcements, just call to action, when we're looking for volunteers, membership, things like that. Put it on YouTube, put it on our homepage.
It's much easier to.
And let's expand that, right? Okay, so now you've created a YouTube video, you have a website. Why can't that same YouTube video go up on any and all of your LinkedIn status updates? Why can't it also go onto your Facebook fan page if you have one? I don't know. Why can't it also go onto that Twitter account? Anytime you do something, you can take that content and you can repurpose it to the audiences that exist all over the web. It doesn't matter if you duplicate the content, like nobody's going to find you for putting something in more than one place. Trust me, I put stuff everywhere. Very busy. The final step is measurement.
Oh, Jason Bourne.
All right. I'll take that as a compliment. Awesome. All right, so measurement. This is the final step, and it's often overlooked because we all get listening. It makes sense. You want to listen to what your customers are saying. We get that. We get that there's stuff out there, and if you can find out, that gives you intelligence. We get that creating content, this always makes sense to everybody. It's also what totally freaks everyone out, but creating content it makes sense. You have to put up a blog, you have to do Twitter, you have to do Facebook, that's all content. Everybody gets that. This is what everybody doesn't think about, is measuring, does any of this make a difference? Okay, I put up this slideshow on our webpage. Did anybody click on it? Did anybody download it? We put up this YouTube video. How many people clicked on it? Did anybody share it? These are the things that you need to look at, because that's going to inform moving forward. Okay, we noticed that when we put up the raw, unedited video, nobody clicks on it, or they stop halfway through. We also noticed that when we put a little 2-minute teaser, and then we link to the full video, more people watch it. I think that these are the sort of things that most businesses overlook, and it's the only way that you're going to know if you're doing what you're doing right. Otherwise, it's just a giant free-for-all, and everybody's doing stuff, and there's no understanding of whether it's working. So measurement is probably the most important thing. So at the very least, you make sure that you're monitoring those analytics on your site to find out where people are coming from. Because right now, you may never know, but you might have people coming to your site from LinkedIn. So if you're getting, let's say, a third of your traffic from LinkedIn, start doing more stuff on LinkedIn. If you're getting 10 visitors a month from Twitter, find out what stuff brought them there, why they came from it.
And you said Google Analytics will tell us what it is.
Yeah, Google Analytics, most analytics software will do it. I'm really only familiar with Google Analytics, and I use it because I have a bunch of websites, and it's free, and it's very comprehensive, so for me, it makes perfect sense. So, I like it. It's always being updated, but it's a good way to find out, where are people coming from, how long are they spending on pages, how long are they spending on sites, things like that. There are a lot of other tools out there, which I won't get into because this is the part to not overwhelm, this is the part to make it seem graspable. But there are a ton of tools that you can measure and find out how effective things are, and where people are coming from, what they're doing. I like free. Free is always good. And that's a great thing about most of these tools, they're free. The only thing that costs money is for you to build that strategy and think about things and have somebody there to kind of guide you through the process of it so that you're not wasting time, because time is money. So the more efficient you can be with your time and having some sort of coaching or some sort of strategy to do it, I generally will always recommend that, not just because it serves my self-interest, but because I think it's a good idea. And then the final thought on all of this, listening, content creation, and measurement, is the word conversion. And what conversion can mean is really anything. It could mean they filled out a contact form, they emailed you, they shared something, they downloaded a white paper, they downloaded a slideshow, whatever. All conversion means is it's what you want them to do. So make it very clear what you want them to do. If you want them to call me now, put a button that says call me now. If you want them to email us now, email us now. Whatever it is that you want your clients or members or anyone to do, you want to be very clear about what that is. So make sure that that's a part of the whole strategy. Again, listening, creating, measuring. Any more slides? Let's talk. That's my presentation.
That's you?
I was thinking the
Yeah.
same thing.
You have to tell them how you can just get your information by texting you. That's how you do it.
That's how we met him.
Yeah.
We were trying to figure out, well, how can we, I think we said, do you have a car?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, let me show you something different. So what did you show?
There's a program called Contexts. Now, mind you, I sign up for more things than you can imagine, and I see more of what's happening out there. But I came across this one thing, and it was right as I had gotten hired at Divine Powers. I didn't have any business cards yet, because we're in the process of transitioning the new back. So there's this program called Contexts, C-O-N-T-X-T-S, I think. There might be an E, I'm not sure. But what it basically does is it allows you to go onto this website, put in all of your contact information, and then when you meet people, you can just say, text Jeff Gibber to 54222 or something. And then when they do that, it pops back all the information. Or you can, from your text thing, say, give me your phone number. And you say, send info to, and then you put in the person's number, and it'll send your information. So it generally impresses people. I have a new trick, but I won't show you guys that.
It's kind of like bump.
Yeah,
Similar to that.
a little bit like that. It's kind of like Bump, except it's text-based. The Bump is a cool one.
I'm amazed by it.
Yeah, the one I'm doing now is the one that blows people away. Do you know what a QR code is? It's that thing back there, up on the wall, the black thing up there.
I have it, no BlackBerry.
So you can link that to really anything. And not only can you link it, you can actually track when people click on it or scan it. So a smartphone, you can scan that code, and it'll take you to a website, to a location, to contact information. You can have it do all sorts of things. So I created a page on my blog which is just like a virtual business card. It has a link to my LinkedIn profile, my Facebook fan page, my blog, my speaker profile page, my company. It has my phone number, the whole thing. So I just pull out my little iPhone, have a picture of the QR code, scan it. Boop. And they're like, oh my God! Did you really just do that? Yes, I did. My name's Jeff, I'm from the future. It works out nicely. Definitely impressive.
My friend sent me one on Facebook. I don't know, to a blog that she wrote.
Mhm.
She's like, just gave this to your invite. I'm like, what? Thought it was spam.
I sent one. I posted one on my fan page, and I said, "You'll be recognized by name for the first person that can tell me where this goes to." Because I wanted to see like how tech savvy my audience was, and I got an answer back in like 20 minutes. It was like, "Your blog, it's awesome. Now mention it."
Now for your clients, when you do monitoring for your clients of these different sites,
Mhm.
so on and so on, you include the results and everything in there,
Yeah.
how it's working.
Yeah.
Any examples of people that you work with already?
So, I mean, we work with a number of different clients. We work with some restaurants. We work with a foam manufacturer. I'm currently coaching a CEO of a finance firm. So, like, our clients really span the gamut. And what we do is we use a social media listening engine, and we plug the results that we find based on carefully crafted searches for what is relevant to them. We plug that into this program that allows us to analyze what's the most influential posts. And then we kind of feed them to our clients and say, okay, respond to this one pronto because it's important. Just read this one because there's some intelligence you can gather from that. We give them sort of like the high level and the action items to do with it, but we also tell them sort of what we're learning from listening. So the please reads are usually, read this because this is a possible new target market for you that you should consider getting into. Please read this because it's an interesting take on a speaking engagement that's coming up that you might be able to attend. So it's more like informational. And then the please responds are the like, okay, comment on this because there's an opportunity for you there to make a connection, for you to have an opportunity for new business or whatever.
Jeff, I love your presentation because what we're realizing now is this is not just about updating information. It's not just about saying where I'm at this specific point. It's about what information can we also gather, but also push out there. So, I challenge us to think about these things, even when it comes down to a general body meeting. What can we do utilizing social media? Even if we decide to have a general body meeting right here in this room on a Monday evening, but how do you still interject this into that general body meeting? I saw it at the State Farm sponsored, was it the Whiteboard Challenge? At conference, because now what they've done is they had a fan choice, and during the whiteboard challenge they said, all right, well now we want you to tweet, we want you to text, and also what was the other thing, it was tweet, text, and something else, your results or who would you like to win, exactly, your vote. So those are some of the things that we have to think about doing when we're bringing individuals in. So love the presentation. Thank you so very much. Any other questions, guys? Thank you again. And we do have lunch for you guys as well. So, definitely come back, get some snacks, something to drink. So, and do you not think this presentation will be beneficial to our members as well?
Very beneficial.
Perfect. So that'll be one of our next action items, and we'll make sure we capture this, that we will be having the same presentation for our members.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. I got tons of presentations too. I got a full curriculum from social media 100 up to social media 605.
Oh, without a doubt. We'll make sure we're doing this first. Exactly. Let's take a quick 5, and then the leaders here, and then we'll get right back into the swing of things.